Hello? Hello? Can you guys hear me? Hey, how's it going, everybody? Can you guys hear me? How's everybody doing today? Is there anybody out there? Can you guys reply to see if you guys are on Facebook, Mixer, YouTube, or Twitch? Alright, can you hear me on YouTube? So I just posted a few links in case you guys want to follow me. Once I start the stream, I'll talk about them a little bit. Hey, how's it going, Diego? Mostly English. I have been considering doing a half Spanish, half English stream, but mostly English. Okay, sounds like it sounds good in YouTube. That's good. How's everybody doing? Happy New Year. Hope everybody had a great vacation. So we'll just get started in the next couple minutes. Meanwhile, I'll just be setting up a quick render just to test what we have been doing for the last couple weeks. Okay, thanks for joining, Diego. So here I just brought the model in from ZBrush, the stuff we've been working on for the last couple weeks. So now we're going to just do a quick render while we're waiting for other people to join. Let's see, where did my KeyShot go? Just disappeared. Awesome. Looks like KeyShot just died. Hey Craig, thanks for joining the stream. There it is, he was hiding. So if you guys run into any issues like this before where like your model is too large, you guys can change the scene size so that the HDR becomes a little more usable. And I had this issue too before where you have to turn all the material, everything back on. Sometimes when you start rotating, it just for some reason only one subtool gets seen and everything else gets hidden. Kid up and dead. Hey, how's it going? Metafix, awesome. Sounds like it's good. Can somebody confirm Facebook just to make sure we're good there? Is everybody ready to get back to work? Facebook is good. Okay, thanks, Sean. Awesome, then we'll get started. So here I'm just playing around with something that we did the last couple streams, just see how we're at. I haven't touched it since, so it's been about 2 weeks. Seems like everything's going in the right direction. Today we're gonna do some more poly painting and some more refinement before we get this guy's pose and ready to start sculpting the final stuff. What do you guys think? Cool. Back to ZBrush. Alright, before we get going, let's go here, show you guys. So this is my website. If you guys want to know more about what I do as a professional, you guys can check this out. I'll be updating this soon. So it's magvfx.com. If you guys are interested in my interface, I just updated it. So there's a whole new interface for 2020. I did a few things with the camera. I'll talk about those, but feel free to download it from here. I'll repost the links. And if you're interested in checking out my collectible stuff, check out lavestastudio.com. That's where you'll find some of the stuff that I've been working on, some of the stuff that I'll be posting later. And there's also ZBrush Live, so feel free to come here and check out the many presenters we have. Everybody does a little bit different type of styles and different type of things, so pretty cool stuff. Feel free to check that out. Cool. Let me post those links for you guys again. I'm also running a little different setup today. I got a new screen. I went and decided to try widescreen. Got a 34-inch, so it's much nicer to just look up and see one screen instead of two. Besides my Cintiq. So let's see. So here's some of the guys who've been working on for the last couple streams, right? So we've been jumping back and forth between this guy, which is our main warrior guy. Here's without any colors. Let's turn off any color stuff. And he's getting there. He's not quite finished, but I think we'll be ready to post him soon. We'll do a little bit more poly paint on him to see, make sure he's looking good. Then maybe some more refinement on the legs, since those are the ones that have been touched the least amount. But we did start doing some poly painting, so let's turn that back on. And it's kind of the theme that I'm thinking of going. Just checking the chat, make sure you guys, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. It's just posted on the other side, so there we go. It's better there. And the music is too loud, let me know. Hey Paolo. So yeah, so let's continue some more poly painting on this guy. So if you guys want to start poly painting and trying to match a color that you had from before, you can press C on top of whatever object you're seeing. How you see how you can jump, that the color swatcher is jumping around. So that we can start with the same base. So here we'll start with the same base of this dark brown. So see if I'm holding C, it'll change, and then I just let go and I can start poly painting all this stuff. So one thing that I like to do is go to standard, change this to full flow, change this to RGB and remove Z add. 7 when you're painting. You paint like that and then go to the next one by holding Alt. So you could do that, or you could also do fill object, which is also pretty useful when we're just trying to get this base done. So there's multiple ways of doing it. I would discuss a little bit about the AAA games, but I don't do much gaming. I'm more in the visual effects side, so this is more of a higher end assets, but so I can't discuss too much about that. I just know they have to be pretty, you know, they have to be good for real time, lower, you know, lower resolutions than film. We don't, I guess they don't have the subdivision levels and all that stuff, but you know, it's still high quality stuff, I guess, from what I've seen. So now that we got the base all done, let's make sure we got everything. Sorry, AJ, yeah. Let's see, let's pick another color. Let's start going with the darker color, which is... Go ahead and go with C. So here, as you can see what I'm trying to paint. Any other questions so far? If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask, because I know. Let's see. So right now we're going to try to mask by occlusion. Let's see what that does for us. It looks like there's not much. Not too much ambient occlusion happening. I guess we could spread it out. Occlusion intensity, let's try that. And ambient occlusion always takes a little bit of time. See, that helped. So I'm trying to get everything between the joints to be darker. So you can export the Polypaint, convert it later to maps, which we could probably do. I just want to do a quick paint over so we can see what that looks like. So you see here, it just gives me a lot of the indications of the detail and where things are crossing without me having to paint each part individually. So that it gets me to that point a lot quicker than me having to go in there and hide each piece and that type of stuff. So we'll do that to a lot of these other guys. Let's see, come on, ambient occlusion. But yeah, you could bake all the ambient occlusion to maps, but you do have to have UVs or else it kind of defeats the purpose. So I like to turn off visible mask, even though it's masked. It's just hiding it so that I can actually see what I'm painting here and see how it gets me there pretty quick. So one thing, once I'm here, I could also like keep softening that mask more to spread it out if I wanted to. But in this case, I don't want to do that much, so I want to just kind of get all the crevices. Just want so that we can see the design as a whole with some paint. That's mostly the reason for doing this part. But of course, occlusion takes a while. Most of these masking techniques, depending on how detailed your model is and how many pieces you have and cavities, it takes a while for it to calculate. Like here, it's taking a little bit of time to figure that out. But you know, it doesn't take too long. Just So where's everybody tuning in from? You guys can let me know where you guys are tuning in from. That would be great. See, this one's taking a while compared to the other ones. So we'll give it a second. There we go. See, this one took a lot longer because there's a lot more detail. Ireland. Oh, awesome. So you start seeing some of the stuff pop, which looks pretty cool. Let's continue with some other parts. India? Oh, cool. Yeah, I like using the cavity a lot for masking, but in this case, for this type of thing that I'm trying to do at the moment, it seems like it's much better to do the ambient occlusion very high. Let's spread it even out even more. So this one needs to be spread out a little more than the other ones. Okay, looking good. Let's keep going with some of the other pieces. So what's everybody working on for the new year? Any new cool things anybody's working on want to share? Well, some of the stuff that I've been working on is some of the stuff that we did on the stream. Some of the helmets, I printed my own little collectibles, like I told you guys, like the 3-inch ones. So I printed those out, and they're getting ready to be cleaned up and then casted and molded. So I'm pretty excited for that. If you check my Instagram, it's I guess I should give you guys a link to that too. One second. You guys could check out the photos there. I'll share the photo right now too, in case you guys like Instagram. So here's some of the helmets. So you guys can see what you know, how we do it from having them done in the stream and then printing them out and then making collectibles out of them to sell at shows, trade shows, that type of deal. And then we can start going with the next part. I'm also choosing not to do the fill because it's going to be kind of solid overall, and I kind of want to have some fade, so that's the reason I'm doing the airbrush on it. And I guess here we're going to pick one of the shoulder pads because both of these guys don't work for me. Just find the sub tool. It has those shoulder pads. So those we don't want. I think we're gonna keep the other ones. I think we're gonna keep those and get rid of the ones that are selected. Or, let's see. Yeah, I think these look better, so we're gonna go with those. So let's go ahead and do the masking. Yeah. without any jagged edges. So I think the extrusion method that you're talking about, just this one, is oh, guess there was no symmetry on that piece. See, in this case, I don't think there's much ambient occlusion we could add, because there's, well, there's that, I guess. Just fade a little bit of color on that. Yeah, I could show you some extrusion stuff. I think the main thing with extrusions is that you either have to do it pretty high and then smooth the edges, and then go back with flatten to refine the angles. But yeah, sure. Let's see. Hold on. Just gonna add a little more of this guy. These horns. So this is where you kind of go in manually and just add a little bit wherever you think it needs it. Especially on these top ones too. Not a lot, just a hint of that red. Change this music. Thanks for the beard. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I was trying to grow it out a little more. I had a really long beard at one time, but I cut it off a few months ago completely. So we could try that on this piece, right? Well, let's duplicate this piece. So we don't get confused with that, what's going on with that. So usually pieces like this they have subdivisions, I like to, so as you can see, there's subdivisions in there. Delete the subdivisions. So let's say you want to pick your pattern for extrusion, right? So let's paint something. One thing you also want to do is make sure if you go to masking, you can see how right now everything's kind of soft and faded. I say I wanted to put a really cool design. The tapers. So it's pretty soft, right? So we can go here and there's an option to sharpen mask. So sometimes you want to do that, but in this case there's not enough polygons, right? So if you had like some kind of dynamesh, then this would be less I guess pixelated, right? But in this case, let's say we go back one or two. So you could either choose to extrude using just like the move tool. You can make it really big and hold Alt. Extrude Alt, you know, or you could do it also going to deformations. And there's many ways to move stuff off here. You could inflate it, gravity, move, whatever you want, you know. So see, so this is kind of more uniformly, which is also nice. So one thing I do, so let's turn off the color so we can see what all this stuff looks like. like you're saying that this is pretty jagged, right? So let's do that again with a dynamesh version of this model. Let's duplicate this guy so we have him as an example. I'm gonna turn everything off but these two guys. Because this one has history, we can keep the design. So we can select something similar later. So this guy has no subdivisions. Let's dynamesh it. That's maybe too low because it's pretty close to the size of the polygons the way they were. So we undo that. You can go maybe a little high. Maybe not like 500, but 256 is a good number. So that should give us a little more density, right? So if you wanted to do something similar, even this is still pretty jagged, so we need to go even higher. It also depends on the distance of your model, how high you're gonna go. Hey, how's it going, Wave 3D? So maybe we dynamesh it. Maybe we do go 512 to add more. So you want to go in increments of powers of 4, you know? There we go. So that's a lot more dense. So we can go here again to sharpen. But we're gonna do it without the sharpen. So it depends what you want to do, right? Like if you wanted to just do something like that, go over just soften it a little bit and it becomes a little more sharp. So you see how both of these now look, you know, this one looks sharper now. Even though there's still tiny jaggeds in there, overall that looks a lot more sharp, right? And that's kind of what you meant. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Wave. So that gives you a more solid result that seems more sharp, but even at the end, it's still, if you zoom in, there's enough there's a limit with the amount of polygons you're gonna have there, right? So it all depends how close you want to get. If you want to get a lot even closer than that, that means you have to subdivide this section higher so that you get less jagged. So when you really zoom in, it's really hard to see. But even at this distance, as you can see, it's not too terrible compared to the old one where like you could really see that ugly edge. But overall, like that works. If you were gonna 3D print this stuff, that works pretty well. Also, if this wasn't a hero character for like a cinematic or something, that would work as well. So it all depends on your needs. That's one thing you have to think about. Delete these guys. But I hope that kind of explains what we were just talking about. So here's a little human that we have just to compare what the size of this guy is if he was to be compared to a human. Just to give you an idea. But let's continue our polypainting. And we're going to get rid of these guys. One of these guys, I guess I should delete it. Yeah, so I want to get rid of this one. It's off. So we're now going to go in here and pick the next color. Actually, before we do that, we'll maybe do a little more fade on these guys. Because some of the pieces, I feel like the horns, I feel like the tips would be nice if they were... Oh, wrong tool. If they were slightly Just the tips, you know. Especially like these guys here. And sometimes you forget that the mask is invisible, so yeah. Oh, thanks, Wave. Pinch it. Yeah, I'm gonna pinch some of these guys to make them sharp. I just haven't gotten to that part. Just trying to get a little poly paint going. See, like in this case, I'm trying to paint and it's still masked. So that's one thing that you gotta remember if you're using that technique. That sometimes if something's not painting, it's probably something you did wrong or that you forgot to turn off. So we're not too worried about the back because that's still work in progress. Nothing crazy. Still needs to have a little butt and a couple, you know, refine his back, his scapular area. But for now, we're just worried about the front because we might not even see the back. But if we do, then we can work on that later. Oh, for the let's see. For this, no, this might be a piece of cloth. I'm trying to figure out what that might be. Maybe it could be some kind of spider web or some kind of you know, since I was looking at tons of bugs, let me show you an example of some of the stuff that I was thinking. I was thinking it could be a pattern like this flea, like maybe some kind of like leather-like material that's flexible with multiple little panels. So when it flexes, it's like pretty fluid, and it flexes nicely. That's one thought. So on the other screen, I have a whole bunch of references of insects. So this is kind of what I have in case you guys missed it. So here's kind of, you know, I was thinking something like this that kind of looks like it could be like cloth. But there's multiple things we can do, right? We can make it furry like this, or like a spider web, or like some kind of, you know, something fuzzy like this. But we'll play for now. That's kind of like a placeholder. The UVs I'm making here because I'm going to keep it on ZBrush. But overall, like if I was going to UV it, I'd probably UV this in Maya. It's much easier for me, but of course it has to be a retopologized version. It's clean and easier to have subdivision, so it's easy to work with. But for right now, this is just kind of like a placeholder because without that, it doesn't look as appealing, you know? It feels like it needs something there to kind of cover his private parts. It's because we're kind of going with the samurai look. It feels like if you didn't have that, it would look a little strange. And that could be a little, maybe part of the back as well. Oh, thanks, Pumpkin. Cool, thanks. Nice. See you get it. Yeah, and then you project the detail back on based on that new piece. So a lot of these pieces might be merged back into one, but for now I want to keep them separate in case I decide to trash them like we had the extra panels. So let's move on. So another thing I like doing with this pattern, instead of having like a nice soft airbrush now, we could switch over to something more like this dots. And it could be the soft ones or the hard ones. I tend to go with the soft ones because they blend better. And then use a little bit of airbrushing. So here, we can either go back to the masking technique and then just paint on the inverted parts, or just go in here and start painting. But obviously we need to pick the color as well, because the color, I think we're going with this darker color. Then we can also choose to adjust it and make it slightly darker if we need to. So I'm kind of sticking to the same areas, except I'm now expanding it, obviously. And we could change this to the color version as well. So instead of keeping it all nice and uniform, we could start making some variations with this one actually, this guy here. If you see the dots, they're not the same, they're slightly different colors, so that would give me some variation in there. And one thing I also want to keep in mind is the size of them, right? Don't want to go too large because then it starts to look like it's not part of the same model. Oh, artifacts. What kind of artifacts? Oh, thanks, AJ. Yeah, that's the whole point, right? It's kind of thinking like a crab, some kind of crustacean, you know, like a lobster, crab, that type of thing. But now I'm trying to break up that pattern, right? Like the pattern that we just painted earlier for the dark crevices, and then we could always go back and add more dark crevices, different slight variation color. But the whole point is to try to get this done like quickly, because it could be all trashed. But as you can see, I just wanted to show you guys like the technique that I'm kind of doing. So if you guys want to block stuff out, you guys can. And it gives you a little more visual interest to see what potential paint jobs, because a lot of the stuff that I do, I tend to do a quick paint job here, and then I try to replicate it in reality using like an airbrush, things like that. And a lot of it too also depends on the size of your polygons. So if your polygons, like in this case, there's not a lot of resolution, so some of the stuff won't be as nice and clean as the face, because the face has a lot more resolution. But you can add more subdivisions, but in this case I'm just trying to get the look down. It's not about the resolution yet, because some of the stuff is not finished. But I do want to do some renders, and I do want to see what it looks like if I were to finish it, what that would look like overall. If it's working at all too, because sometimes it's not. And the main thing is to not be scared to trash your models if you need to trash them, or start over, or delete a piece and adjust to that. That's the main thing I'm trying to show you guys, that even at this point I could trash like half of this and still continue and just move on, or just trash all of it at this point. But we did some work and want to see how that's going to work out. I guess that guy doesn't have symmetry either, but that's fine. So this is just a quick paint job, and then if we like it, we could get inspired to do more. But we don't spend more than 10-15 minutes on it just to see what things are looking like. Sorry for the sniffling. I feel like I'm catching a cold again. When you have kids, colds come around almost every week. So you see, I'm just doing a rough job. Nothing too crazy, but enough to get us shaded and looking decent. Oh, thank you. Yeah, if you tune into the previous streams, you can kind of see how we started with this guy. If you actually wanted to do some more of this type of stuff, hopefully it gives you an idea. But here we're missing like one color, so now we have to go and sample some other color around here to spray on top. So a good thing to do, step back. And it feels like this is a lighter color that we want to spray on there. Let's see. So more of that color. And we can keep that one out more uniform so that it breaks things up a little more. So you see, now we're adding back. And this is where you can also use the same technique we were using earlier with masking, but also do the cavity and then invert the cavity. So let's see, or peaks and valleys. Peaks and valleys is pretty good too. See, so that gives me a really cool pattern, right? But now I could paint the lighter color on top of this to give it even more breakup. sometimes the lighter one has to just become just a slightly bit lighter so you could actually see it, and smaller as well. But the cool thing about this too is that you can always use that as an inverted and just do a darker color as well, which I think this looks pretty cool. Why is it free? I don't know, because they're pretty amazing guys to give us a free update. I'm not complaining. Yeah, the free update it's pretty awesome. So here, there's some peaks and valleys. See, so this really isolates my brighter type top layer. So that you can really see the difference. This might even need to go almost white. So I'm adding variation by doing the spray and also changing the alpha. So if you don't change both of those things, then it starts to look too plain. Let's see where else. So now we can also do that inverted and make some sections darker. So now we can go back to sampling that red and maybe go a little darker red. So let's sample that by pressing C, and let's go even darker, maybe a little more saturated. So if you want to see the results, you can sometimes it's good to go back and forth and just kind of and of course not overdo it, just enough to give it some breakup. What do you guys think so far? I think this is this technique is kind of working out. I feel like this areas, these guys need a little bit more. So if you're wondering how I'm choosing the different parts, you guys can press Alt and it'll activate. So you can see it here, right? If I press Alt on the top of the piece, I was activating all the pieces instead of me having to go into each piece and click on it. You could do that too, but sometimes if you have this many pieces, it's going to be hard to remember, and if you didn't label them, it's kind of a pain. So it's much easier to just go and hold Alt and click, and then that will activate that piece. So it looks like there's still a bit of yellow. Let's see. So the other thing to play around with too is shaders, right? Because sometimes a different shader will give you a different look. And you can see that there's a bit of yellowish that we're kind of missing that I want to add. So we start with sampling that and adding a little more yellow, and then spraying some of that on top of this and get rid of the mask. And that we could probably feather in with just an airbrush. So taking this off and then doing just the airbrush. Maybe a little more yellow, because that just kind of helps blend everything on top. You gotta remember to take all those masks that you had off. So this is looking pretty good. Almost feels all the same. So now we got some more accents of paint. What do you guys think? I wanted to show you guys some reference of stuff that I'm thinking about. A really good reference that I have here is the prawn from District 9. So here I feel like we're kind of in the ballpark, so now we need to add some really dark shades. You know, it's just I'm kind of looking at a lot of nature to kind of inspire me of what I'm kind of trying to design. So all this nature is like your master of how to do this. Give me 1 second. So what do you guys think so far? Pretty cool. Also, it's probably a good time to save. Yeah, I'm trying to give you guys like a good ballpark of like what it takes to get some of this stuff done and still have fun with it. For reference collections, I usually just do my own. I used to use Pinterest a lot and I kind of stopped using it, so I'm kind of just all over the place. I would say just make a folder and look up insects, like find an insect that you really like, and then kind of go on that, or go depending on the animal you're trying to do. Like in this case, so my main references were these type of bugs, spiders. You know, since we're doing two kind of characters, some spiders, and other like samurais and some of this stuff. See, like this has a two-tone type of thing, so I might do some of that to kind of help break up some of the pieces. But not directly copying, just kind of getting inspired by it, you know. Also looking at nature, like you see this is also two-tone, so maybe start picking that, or even just look at the pattern of this tail and use that to help you kind of inspire how you paint your stuff. But no actual reference sites that I would say this is a perfect website for all the reference stuff, because every time you have a new project it's going to be really different. But let's do some of this two-tone stuff, since now we have kind of these guys. Now maybe we could go darker. One thing to also wait to preview is to maybe do a mask on it. Before, the mask used to stay on based on the pieces, but now for some reason it doesn't. So even if I went back, it's still masked, but you can't see it. I don't know why. Not sure if it's because of the coloration. No, see, it loses the selection somehow. But before I used to do that, kind of pick and choose, and then go back and add a little darkness to them. But in this case, it looks like it's not keeping it. But we can still kind of do a little bit of that, just adding, you know, the overall color, which was that darker red. Guess we could pick it from, like this is the one I like, the one that's actually really saturated. It's more like in here. So we'll go ahead and pick that there. Maybe make it a little, actually this one here. So that way you can really see the contrast. So since we did all this paint work, I don't want to go and just ruin it, right? But we could just kind of make it slightly darker than the rest of the pieces. We could probably even go slightly darker than that. And this one you can also add an alpha. And this one you can make your brush a lot bigger too. So here I can pick and choose what pieces, like so it does it more uniformly. So we start getting down to that two-tone. I think I added too much on that, so I'm gonna go back and do the solid. Because I started adding too much to the other pieces that it makes it look too Hey Raven, how's it going? Yeah, you can send me a Dropbox link and I could download it and then check it out. So feel free to do that, or Dropbox or Google Drive, whichever one you prefer. So I don't want to completely get rid of everything, right? So I'm kind of being cautious as to like what are the pieces that I'm doing that to. So here, it would be nice to do this to the top part, but not the bottom. See, so now we're starting to get that two-tone separation. And I can also fade it out. So let's pick that color again. And just fade some of this onto the leg so it doesn't feel like the leg is too exposed. But so something more like that. What do you guys think? Where to upload? It's up to your own account. Like if you have a Dropbox account or a Google Drive account, or I think it's here in WeShare or something like that. You guys can get an account there and then share the link to me. Yeah, feel free. Anybody that has any feedback that you guys want, I'm happy to help you guys with that. So here's a couple different shaders. Let's get rid of this guy to play around with and see like what's working with what. Obviously, like this guy, he looks like he's made of some kind of metallic surface, which I don't like. This one's not too bad. This one's okay as well. So it depends the look. This one looks kind of cool. It looks more like a metal statue than a bug, but still looks cool. I'm laying in between this guy and that guy. This just makes everything a little pink too much, so maybe we'll go with this. Oh, you can post a link here. Hey, Oscar. Yeah, feel free to share an image or feel free to share the model, whatever you feel comfortable doing. It's up to you. obviously, if you open up the model, if you send me the model, I can open it up here and show you guys some more stuff of what I tweak. But yeah, so we have that guy. Let's turn the other guy on. So these were some of the variations we were doing on that spider that didn't work out. I don't know why that one's so large. Yeah, those are just bad pieces, so let me get rid of those guys now. And the further we go along, the more organized and things will start narrowing down to less tools. It's just right now I'm playing around with a lot of tools so that we can don't have to worry about it as much. No, it's not correct. So I'm not Oscar, but check out Oscar's stream. It's pretty good too. Let's check out Yard Station. So this is one of the guys that just sent some feedback. Jesus. Nice. You got some dinosaurs. You got some humans. You got some cute little characters. I want to say the main thing to look at is some of your anatomy, like specifically like this one. There's something wrong with the biceps, the shoulders. It seems to be the legs are maybe a little more forgiving, but check your anatomy. Like look up reference of somebody, you know, like a ballerina or UFC fighter stretching. That type of stuff. That will help a lot because then you can see what's going on with the muscles and how much they're stretching and contorting, and when they twist, like what they look like. And that's one of the problems with doing all this stuff in base pose, right? You do it in T-pose. Who are you? Miguel Guerrero. I guess that maybe the thing didn't update on YouTube or Twitch. His stream, I think, was either yesterday or the day before that. But like I was saying, some of the stuff that you're seeing here seem like some of the artifacts of doing something in a T-pose and then untwisting and not recorrecting it. So once you model something in T-pose or A-pose, you might have to go back and recorrect it. And sometimes people forget to do that. And I feel like you kind of forgot to do that in some of these. Cool dino, I would say some of the things that you need here is maybe some bony landmark. Because it's kind of hard. Everything starts to become a little mushy. So you kind of want to refine where muscles start and end. And then also like some of the bony landmarks, like on the hip and the shoulder, you know, like where's his scapula, where's his hip, his pelvis. Just give hints of some of those things, or his spine. I think that would be something that might be useful for you to do, that I would recommend you try out. Anybody else has anything? Oh, that's good. Well, you have to get your characters out, right? Like this is like your first experiment that you did. So now the next one, you know not to do that, or to refine, or, you know, you make like a little checklist for yourself. Okay, you get to this pose. What do you do next? Like what kind of stuff do you want to try out on him? You know. So maybe we'll do a little bit of poly painting. So not looking at this guy, he feels like he's in the right direction. The top part of his body looks cool, like it's getting there. But I'm not digging the lower body. I feel like the lower part of the body feels a little weak. Like it can't really hold him. Like either his legs need to be a little more muscular, or something, right? Like his upper body's looking good, but let's start working on that. So one way we can do that is going in here. So let's see. So this for sure. And these for sure. So we're going to kind of keep it easy. We're going to merge these two top ones to make them all one group, because it's probably easier to tweak. instead of these. Yeah, all these guys. See, I feel like the intention on these guys feel like, yeah, he's strong, he can fight, he's a warrior, but the bottom ones don't feel like they're doing quite the same. So the first thing we're going to do is duplicate those guys, turn the other ones off, and we're going to try to... Oh, feedback please. AJ, where are you? I don't think I see a link for your stuff, AJ. Oh, this is stuff for Raven. Well, I'm glad to help, Raven. If you have any more questions, feel free to send me messages through Instagram or Facebook or something like that. Yeah, I don't see your link, AJ. So if you could repost it, then I could check it out. So some of the things we want to do is bulk up those legs, right? Potentially make them longer as well. So let's see. Let's start with deformation and then inflating them to see if that does anything that might make them feel better. So a nice thing we can do is go back and forth between those guys and this guys. Go turn perspective on and see if that helps. So it feels like bulking them up doesn't quite do it. So let's just turn them off completely. One thing we can do is maybe steal the top ones, right? So duplicate those guys. You could probably separate these guys out. Let's see. Oh. Definitely don't want to mesh them, but we do want to hide those guys and split hidden, so that we have two sets now. So we can mess with those front ones, which could be cool. But obviously one thing we have to do is set a pivot for them. So we click Alt, that will give you a pivot. A Viper. Edge damage, huh? I think a way you could do edge damage is probably doing the masking, and then kind of depending on what kind of edge damage you want, and then putting noise on top of that. And that will give you some generic noise that you can then adjust. So one thing that I'm doing here is kind of just tweaking this stuff so it doesn't feel the same. And also we could probably put it in the back, and maybe it won't feel like we just ripped it off and stole it. On a cube, sure. Let's see. Let's append something in here. So depending on it is, if it's a blade or something that's sharp or not so sharp, right? Depending on what you're doing, is doing the masking. So in this case, you get the edges, right? So now that you have the edges, you go and apply noise, surface noise. You can also paint alphas on top of this to help break that up if you don't want it to be so perfect, right? So like, let's say I wanted to mask some more stuff on there. You go in here and just switch to this guy. You know, you could manually do a few things like that just to break up that. And then where's my surface? So surface, let's apply that to see what that does. And if you don't see it, you can also change the noise scale and pick a different type of noise, and that should give you some breakup that you could potentially use to break up that edge, you know. Then you can also pick a pre noise from here that's already preset, something more like this. This maybe more what you're looking for. Get rid of this guy, and now you see there's procedural edge breakup and apply to the mesh. And now you have like a broken model, right? Not sure why this is dark. No, there we go. So now you have some breakup that's kind of generic. But you can also, you know, the libraries have like quite the amount of different types of noise. So you can make something that's more like a crack or this other noise. But that's like a super easy way to do it generically. But make sure that you mask so it doesn't feel like you just applied it on everything. Because if you were to just go back to, like this one's pretty nice, right? If we were to apply that. But it also feels like concrete, applied to mesh. And now you're getting something that already looks broken up in 2 easy steps. Oh, I'm glad that helped. Yeah, it's super nice to do that. Like that's something I'll probably do later on with this model, but right now we're just working on primary form, so that's why you're not seeing that. But yeah, the other thing you want to keep in mind too is to not make sure this was sharp edge. So like if we went back, and before I smooth it, see how I had a nice sharp edge? Keep turning that guy off and dividing it. So basically I'm adding resolution to the model without breaking that edge. So now that that's done, we can go back to the deformation or masking. Sorry, my bad. Masking. See, now it's a way tighter edge. And then you just invert it and apply the same thing. So now we could try a different noise. For the noise maker, something more sharp or something more generic like that. And you could kind of see, you kind of preview it. Or actually that one works pretty well. Then you could apply to mesh, move that, and then do that to it. But you also have to make sure that maybe the scale on this one is probably too high. So now we can go back in here and change the scale so that it's not as puffy. And apply it to mesh. So it's broken up, but let's get rid of this guy. But it's a little more fine. So it all depends, you know, you could do it really rough or you could do it really fine. Or you could play around with the masking on top of that as well. Hope that helped. Yeah, so it depends. It depends what you want to do. You know, also if you want to just refine it, you could also do the deformation and you know, polish by group, polish by crease edge, and that should get you sharper edges if you have something that was kind of soft. So it all depends really what you want to do. If you had a more specific example, that would probably help me determine kind of what you need. So in this case, let's continue on this guy. Maybe turn that guy off. And work on these legs because these seem to be a little stronger. And we can also get rid of links if we don't see a link that we like if we don't like the main shoulder link or any other type of stuff. One thing you want to be careful is that when you're doing this type of stuff, you move the legs out, because if they become too broad, they look kind of strange. Or we can also add another link on top of this. So if we see that maybe you want to extend that link, we'll also do that too. So you can either move it with the move tool, or you can also move it with this guy, the move brush. So it depends on the different ways of adjusting the stuff, right? Cool. Any other questions? So here I'm just trying to get a feeling for this stuff. Let's get rid of that guy. See what that stuff is feeling like. Looking at it from different angles. Because maybe these are like the back legs. Or another thing you can do too is, let's see, where's my mirror? Mirror on the different axes. And also might help. So now they feel like they're like leaping legs, like. Of course, you have to change the pivot again. But now this could be some back legs, you know? Oh, glad that helped. Yeah, if you have any other questions, feel free to send me a link. Or send me a message of what you want. So in this case, maybe some of these legs could be higher up. So that's what I was talking about earlier, that don't be afraid to break what you have, because sometimes you have to just remove it, and sometimes if you're married to it, you can move forward with something that you should be moving forward a lot quicker with. Oh. Even though I'm breaking some of this, I could go back and fix it, so it's not a big deal. You know, I'm getting the idea down. Things are looking good. We can move forward on them. If they're not, then we can trash them. So in this case, see, I'm looking at the top view so that I feel like the legs are kind of spreading out. Link. Yeah, I don't see the link still. You You guys enjoying the stream so far? And one thing I could do too for my reference is check out the way these guys are splayed out, right? Like these guys are really going further back. This, you have two on the front, and you have the two in the going forward. So there's those types, and then there's these types, which like the back legs are lower, but the front legs are higher. So we can do a variation of that. That's why it's so important to have some reference to kind of just help you get guided. Like here's one that's pretty good. Seems like the middle legs are shorter than the back legs, so maybe we'll go with that. So in this case, these guys should be further back, and maybe these guys shrink. Now we can play around with those front legs that we had earlier. I think these guys right there. So I think the problem with these guys in the front is that they work from the top, but I think for the front they make them feel like a scorpion, right? Which there's nothing wrong with adding a scorpion and a spider together, but I feel like they need to do something more. Like it seemed like those front ones were way longer, so maybe that's what we have to do. Maybe that's what we have to tweak. So maybe they're like that long, and then the front part is long too. Also, it feels like they need to be higher. Here. questions, anything I could help you guys with. No, I don't see your link. All I see is just this link, but when I click on it or anything like that, there's nothing there. So what are you guys doing with the rest of your Sunday? You guys doing anything creative? Having fun making your own monsters? Please copy. Yeah, I still don't see it, man. So this is definitely feeling better than what we had before. Just has to be a little more integrated. Not sure about those middle arms. What do you guys think? Prehistoric raptors and so that's awesome. So let's see what this is looking from the top. So maybe there's see, that feels better. See, sometimes you just you have to mimic a little bit of real life with spiders, and then sometimes some of the stuff just works out. So even at this point, we can probably, let's see, turn on the other guys and see what those guys are looking like now. Not as bad. Except something broke here in the middle. So maybe go back a few steps. Yep, something definitely broke. need to probably be bulked up a little bit, but it feels like it's much more menacing. And we should save. Yeah, first I was thinking of having the other character kind of have this guy dead, but now I kind of feel like it'll be good to have them as like they're about to fight, like maybe earlier in the fight. Let's see. Which render am I using? I'm using Arnold mostly. I do use KeyShot. I do some renders in Substance Painter using iRay, but my main render is Arnold. Fingerprints, huh? Well, all you need to do is really just find an alpha that has a fingerprint, and that should help. Let's see. Yeah, you just find something like this, something that's nice and clean, that has nice contrast. I could save this, let's see. So you have that alpha there, right? Subdivisions. Oh, wrong brush, sorry. Let's pick this to get rid of that. So you could do something like that, of course, with a lot less, maybe like a 10. And there you go, that's your fingerprint. So you could just do that a few times wherever you need to have it. Maybe pick a couple different alphas that have fingerprints. But even this could be used for this type of stuff, right? Like you make it big enough. And a fingerprint could be like a cool pattern that the tail has or the butt has. So that's a cool thing about all this stuff, that you can use it for many different ways if you find creative ways to use it. Yeah, but that's all I did. Just find a fingerprint out there and then paste it on there. I guess you had bad luck. What is your art station? Do you have a link for that, or can you tell me what your art station name is? Maybe I could look you up. That might be easier, because I don't see anything you're posting in AJ. Also, the thing that says copy this, it just says please copy it, and there's nothing there. Oh, there we go. I found it. Sorry, I had to go up on the search. But let's see. Is this you? If you could please confirm that, that would be great. You got some nice stuff, man. Got some cool. Got a cool little drone, futuristic drone. Like some nice substance painters type of stuff. Oh yeah, that's you. Okay, cool. You got a character. Kind of same thing. I think you feel like you need some bony landmarks, specifically like in the clavicle. Definitely need some of that. Neck definition, a little bit of that, a little bit of jaw definition, so you get some of the bony landmarks a little more refined. So it feels like you can feel separation, like the stuff is hanging from the bone, or the skin is hanging from the bone, not the muscle so far. Probably some cloth sculpting. It feels like the cloth needs some definition. Also hard edges, soft edges. Everything feels kind of muddy and soft right now. would say those would probably be the biggest things. Some face structure, a little more cheekbones, nose bone, a little bit of brow definition, the bottom lid definition, or the bottom like bags. I know he's probably young, so he just needs a bit of definition, like he's fit. If you look at a runner, or find some references of photos of what you want to mimic. Yeah, especially if you're going for this type of concept, then definitely look up more of the indigenous type of clothing, like what that really looks like when it's folded, or how torn it is. Body definition, definitely some more better references for your anatomy. The one you have there for the reference is pretty good. If you follow that, I think would help get it defined. But if you're having issues with like the front of the back or any other angles, look up some UFC fighters. I would highly recommend that. But it's nice that you went through the whole pipeline. Now you know what's going on there. Looks like you do have some eye bag stuff here, just not really showing up on your model. Yeah, a lot of stuff is missing, man. I'm looking down and you're missing all the pores. It's like you have some here, but they're not really showing up on your top model. Like everything's getting washed out here. So it must be the way you're applying the normal map or the way you're applying the displacement map. All this stuff is kind of getting lost a bit. But some of this other stuff is looking pretty good. Nice work, man. I would say for basically your organic stuff needs some more work than your hard surface. I would probably concentrate more on that. So I'm gonna post some more links here to some of the guys that didn't get my interface, my Gumroad, or if you want to check out my work. Let's see. Hopefully that helped. Let me know if that helped, AJ. Yeah, the insect book looks great, right? I might actually have to use that. Or find one that's less broken up so I can just use that as an overall pattern. Let's see. So this is looking pretty good. It feels like it needs one more set of legs in the front. Which could also be these top ones, but I kind of want to add some more. Let's see. Kind of the idea we were playing around with adding these guys. Just have to duplicate that. In this case, well, like I said, that's the piece that's missing. Delete hidden. Now we can use those down. Okay, yeah, feel free if you have an update later and you refine some stuff, feel free to send it to me. I guess I grabbed the wrong one. Let's see. Yes. Okay. Sometimes some things get out of whack, no big deal, right? Forgot to mask something, so you can just turn off one side, mask one side. I selected delete hidden, no biggie, it happens. Use this guy. This guy does a really good job of bringing everything back to symmetry, and then make sure you turn on symmetry again. So I just turn off perspective. So what does this look like from the top view? Let's see. So one thing we can do is spread these guys out so it gives this guys more room. We can also check to make sure everything's touching the ground, which is not. So that guy's too long. So now we can go in here and start touching up some of the stuff that broke. In some case, we're gonna have to sculpt some of this stuff, but not a big deal, so we can go to 64. Start touching up some of these joints. Also giving these guys a little more girth. Seems like they got a little thin, especially for being some main legs. One thing we could do that for that is kind of cut them in half. And then really push one direction. And then do the same from the other direction. Also give them a bigger belly. Yeah, I'm pretty excited to go back to work. I've been off for 2 weeks and it's been great, but I can't stand still for too long. So I'm pretty excited to go back to work. How about you guys? Did you guys already start new work after the New Year's, right after, or did you guys taking off 2 weeks as well? some more epic music. So here I'm just kind of looking at the silhouette and see that the silhouette feels like it needs to have more bulk in the back. Now that he has his bigger legs, he can be a little bulkier. Looking at his torso, just kind of working on the S shape. That means also we can push the belly. See, so if I'm looking at the tiny little silhouette and seeing that it needs some help, but not a lot, just so that's what this is really important to have to which is nice because now we can move these legs forward just a tiny bit too. These guys go to the back so they all have a specific joint they're coming up from. So you see here, these joints don't feel like they're actually clawing forward, so I feel like they need to have a little bit of an arc. So no straight lines, always have some kind of break in that line. I guess these could afford to have it a little bit longer. Notifications happening. So one important thing to always look at is also look at the back of the character. I know sometimes we tend to neglect that and not look at that stuff much. I think it's pretty important to kind of make sure that he also looks good from the back, right? So let's check out these two characters together. We should save first before we Let's move next to each other actually. Oh, turn off symmetry. Oh, that's awesome. There's two pieces that are not cooperating. So usually what that means is that I have something that's masked in there, which is something in the neck piece, not a big deal. We'll go in there and just kind of see what that was. It's probably something I forgot to unmask. Yeah, see it was. So let's try that again, see if there's other piece. Transpose the wrong one. Something with the face. Okay. Not a big deal. Just kind of want to show you guys both of these guys next to each other. So it would be nice to have a thing, a tool that would unmask everything for you. That would be actually pretty awesome. If there is, I don't know about it. So if you guys know, let me know in the comments. I guess it must have been the arm, something got unmasked there. Just done. Alright, let's try that again. So sometimes when you have one thing masked, it tends to kind of break everything. Yeah, I'm working on another show that I guess a lot of the stuff that I'm working on is be for Monsterpalooza, which it's gonna be a fun show. So here's the two characters we kind of worked on in the last couple streams. Come on, little thumbnail, shrink down. There we go. So I think the next thing to work on is probably a weapon for this guy. So let's see how he's gonna take that guy down. Which this guy doesn't have any hands, so he probably won't be able to hold a weapon. But this guy will, so probably work on a sword for him. But let's see what these guys look like in KeyShot. What do you guys think? Think it's a good size? I think it's a pretty good thing, right? This guy's like really big compared to this guy, but this guy might have better techniques to fight, so I think it'll all work out. So let's try KeyShot. Oh, is it still open somewhere? Let's see. Oh, it's doing something. Let's give it a second. Yeah, I've been itching to work on something else for you guys, but these guys are taking a little bit of, a little bit of time. I think it's been about 2 or 3 streams, but I haven't touched them outside of this, so it's kind of hard to move forward. This is probably, let's see, 2 hours each stream, so it's probably about 6 hours worth of work in these 2, maybe 6 or 8 hours. Where's my KeyShot? Still exporting. All right, let's give it a second. There's no KeyShot open. I guess it's trying to open. There it is. There we go. An axe, huh? Oh, okay. I don't think I've ever modeled an axe, so this would probably be a good time to do that. It could be two axes, right? Maybe a smaller one and a bigger one. So he's like pose like a really cool action pose. That could work. That could be cool. Oh, it's weird. They didn't bring everything else in. Well, let's maybe start a new fresh scene because maybe there's something wrong with this. Actually export, okay, it's going. It's a lot of pieces, so I can see why it's taking a while. Yeah, I don't know why that happens. It's so strange. Let's try a new, nice top light. Let's see what that looks like. Some cool materials. Different environments. I hate how that happens. It's always happening to me now. Where it just, as soon as I rotate something, I'm not only have anything selected, it has to just kind of make everything else disappear. Any questions before we're off? We're about to be done in a couple minutes. I hope you guys enjoy the stream. Learn something, hopefully. Yeah, I think bulk changing out the legs really helped, because those other previous legs were feeling pretty weak. I just need a little refinement, but should be pretty good. I think printing them out is not going to be fun, but it should be cool. Let's go back to ZBrush. Start with an X. Like I said, next stream we can start doing some axe work, and we're still active under.
Echoes from the west, great hammers will fall. Under high rocks all will answer the call. Bring us your arms.
Interesting glitch. If it is a glitch, because I have never had this issue. Go back to our old scene before. Oh, thanks, Manu. Oh, you want to see what the final one looked like? Sure. Just load my. Let me load the scene again. Something happened to the other one. So this is what the polypainting ended up looking like. We're gonna work on axe, but I guess we'll do that next stream. I'll think of some designs and then we'll get to it. Oh, thank you. Really appreciate it. Yeah, any feedback you guys have, I really appreciate it, because getting some other eyes besides mine on this sometimes could help. Like the axe idea, I never really thought about, but I think it could be a really cool idea to do. So I think that's the next thing we're going to be pushing, weapons and poses, and then we'll move on to refining the actual finished piece. Yeah, maybe some more contrast, right? Because right now it still feels very, very similar. But yeah, we'll play around with that next stream. Oh, thanks. Really appreciate it. Well, thank you guys. Thanks for joining the stream. If you guys have any questions, feel free to follow me on social media. Ask me there. I'll post those links again in case you guys need them. So feel free to, so I think my Instagram is missing, so feel free to contact me via Instagram. send me a private message if you guys have any questions, or wait till next stream, however you guys feel, or go to the next streamer, however you guys, whatever you guys want to do. But feel free, I'm always open to helping people with any type of problems we had. But thanks for joining. I'll see you guys next time. Hopefully you guys had fun and learned something. But yeah, stay in touch. See you guys next time. Bye.